rebrand himself. Let him work on his branding. That money he wants to spend on this media tour, let him spend it on branding. Then come back to me and I'll work with him. So a lot of people still tend to put in the professional part first before the money. So even if it's that easy to buy, are you working with people that are professional enough? Because there are still people that stand their ground that if you're not good enough, if you're not talented enough, they're still not going to work with you.
Buy, please.
Simple and short. That's my guy.
Well, I don't even think we should care whether he bought or not. He's doing something right.
It's a conversation that has been going on, and we need to address it one way or the other.
I feel like it's not that simple to just let that go, because I feel like if you encourage that narrative, you're taking away his hard work and taking away his talent, for me personally. So I don't like the whole, what if even if it's bought his school, nah. Yeah, I think it's very possible that Davido could get those numbers organically.
Trust me, I'm believing Davido will be thinking the same thing, because he already sang one of the songs. Waiting in star blog, one talk again.
Moving on to the next story. Nigerian hip-hop died when Dagrin died, and this is coming from rapper CDQ. He made the assertion while speaking on the first episode of Hennessy's hip-hop docuseries, The Conversation. In his opinion, Dagrin was the only artist that stayed true to the genre. CDQ made this known when he was asked to give his opinion on the evolution of hip-hop in Nigeria.
I totally disagree that hip-hop died when Dagrin died. I think hip-hop evolved, and hip-hop even got life when Dagrin died, because that's like killing a legacy that a Dagrin has set for us, a standard that a Dagrin has set for us. We are forever grateful that we had an artist like Dagrin, not just for the indigenous rappers, because in as much as it was indigenous, right, he had the right lyrics, he had the right words that just, mattered a lot. And then there are a lot of hip-hop artists right now that are still putting us on the map. I can call the likes of M.I. Abaga, I can call the likes of Ladipo, I can call Vector, not for me though. I could call the likes of what's it called now, Black Bones. I can.
So if you're calling Ladipo and Vector is not for you, how
Ladipo and Vector, that's very disrespectful to Ladipo, to be honest. Sorry about that. I respect
even
Vector.
The names you're mentioning, I feel like mine is even, they're not very indigenous. I thought you'd have mentioned Olamide.
No, that's why I said taking it away from indigenous.
Right.
I'm talking about hip hop generally.
Right.
I'm saying let's take it away from indigenous right now.
And you think, what's it called?
Vector.
No, rest in peace. Dagrin influences people.
Influences people?
Influence those people. These Ladipo and Emma.
No, it did not influence them according to their creativity. It influenced the hip-hop scene in Nigeria, which is what is most important. Maybe a lot of people would not even...
indigenous hip-hop scene in Nigeria. For me, this
okay, so let me
conversation, I don't know if there's, maybe tomorrow or next week or next month, CDQ will say something that I can agree to. He has not said anything ever that has actually sat down and I think, okay, this guy is saying something. I don't know where he's coming from. It would have been nice if we can see the video of how he started it and how he ended it. But right now, we are talking based on what the press has carried, But based on what the press has carried, I don't understand you saying hip-hop died when Dagrin died. First and foremost, he did not start hip-hop in Nigeria. What he actually
had the likes of Elder the Don Tribesmen and
do you understand? So I do not agree.
I think there's a mindset. I'm always treading carefully when I want to say this, but sometimes when people pass away, they get a lot more momentum than sometimes they deserve. And I understand the logic behind that, but that's not always true. Because you don't know what could have happened if these people were still alive. You don't know, maybe their music could have gone flat. They could have gone west. They could have been a sellout and be doing commercial stuff and decrease. You really don't know. Either way, I still think that the Green is... You can't take away his impact on our music industry, but I feel like there's a lot of people who were there before him are still there and they're doing. I feel like if he was here and he was still doing his thing the way it was, he'll have been proud of them and he'll have had good competition. I don't think he's the best thing that. I don't think it's the best thing that's ever happened to
I'll give you. No, we're going so far where we're calling Mode 9. I'll give you.
We're going too far. Was it not before?
No, hold on. Now, with all due respect, I'll be talking about Idris Abdul Karim. He gave us the figgy vibe, right? And then that was the birth of hip hop music in Nigeria.
And the record man came to change that. And then Rugged Man came to address that, to say you have to be saying something.
Now, the reason why I'm bringing, I like the fact that you brought up Rugged Man because I didn't even think about it. But quickly, right? The reason why I brought up Idris Abdul Karim and then Rugged Man, like you mentioned, is because we don't know if this career could have gone south or west or north or east, right? Which we don't know what has happened to Idris and Rugged Man. With all due respect to the both of them, right? But they gave us a standard. They gave us a recipe to tread on, and which has led to the success of a lot of other successful hip hop artists. So we can't take that away. Whether the
from Dagrin, yes, agreed.
We can never take
of
it
course,
away.
But he's not. It's the industry did not die because
and it did not start because of him.
Yes,
simple as ABC. Anyway. The indigenous got better. Anyway, tea time continues right after this break with very interesting guests.
Is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria?
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Welcome back. This is still tea time on Plus TV Africa. We have not one guest, but two guests in the studio. One of the duo has been writing from a very young age. He is a best-selling author and the man behind the viral story, which has now been adapted for screen, Finding Hubby. And the other is a gorgeous actress. She's definitely a cast on Finding Hubby, Adila Oye. Hi.
I'm the drum roll guy. I didn't know what to do. I'll give you guys drum roll.
Thank you. His crush is here, so he needs to continue drumming.
Don't let her deceive you. I have a lot of crushes. Oh. I'm Candy
So
Crush.
is she part of the crushes?
He's Candy crushing. Am I part?
Yeah, the sweetest candy.
That's right answer. That's the right answer.
Okay, before we start cheesing,
I'm on your show.
Let's talk about Finding Hubby. I mean, when that story came out, I'm not going to say I read everything from beginning to end, but I saw the progression of that story, and a lot of people loved it. It was relatable, it was sweet, easy, and all. And now it's going to be on the big screen. What has that journey been like for you?
It's actually been a very interesting one. I usually say Finding Hubby is like the jumping off point for my writing career. I'd written a book before then. The book didn't do very well. It was an interesting book. You know when you write a book and you know, my book is going to do well, and then it goes into the market and doesn't do so great. So a couple of my friends were like, look, Nigerians don't read. Just forget this, your writing thing. So I set out to write Finding Hubby to prove to them that Nigerians would read if it was a story they could relate with, if it was a story they would enjoy. So I started writing it as a diary of a lady, and everybody thought it was a lady that was writing. I think 3 months in, when I revealed it was a guy, everyone was that way. But very thankfully, it went viral, it went everywhere. At the end of the 6 months it ran for, maybe 2 million people had read it. It was read on radio, all over the country, Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt. And it had a massive following, and everything else that I've done in terms of writing and creatively has really built on the foundation it laid. So, very happy.
All right, so I've read a few of your works. Sorry, I'm coming to you. You know, you're the sweetest candy, though. But I've read a few of your works, and I noticed that you pay attention to a lot of details. Now that this, your book is getting adapted into a movie, Finding Hubby, right? What would you say is missing? What would you say? You're part of the production, you're part of the directing. What would you say you wish was there but isn't there? Because right now they're making it look like every woman needs to find a husband. That's what the book is about. So what is missing?
I think one of the things I like about how we've approached making the film is that we showed that it's a film that starts from finding hubby. So the ladies definitely want to find a husband, and that's important and all of that. But at the end of it all, you find that they realize that what they were actually finding was happy. You know, they were trying to find happiness, and at the beginning they thought finding a husband would be happy. But at the end of it, they found out some other things that I hope people will find out when they watch it.
Okay.
So that's what they will find different in the way we've adapted the story from the way we wrote it originally.
Okay,
So
let's talk about your role in the movie that we're about to watch. What would you say about that role?
So I play the title character of Onyi Clegg. And so, you know, it's written in her voice. and she's a mess. Like, she's a hot mess, but in a good way. I had so much fun working on this. To do research for the role, I actually went and started reading the blogs because I was out of the country when it was popular in Nigeria. So I went and just kind of like read everything, and I could see myself playing her. She's incredibly fun. She has skoy, you know, she's very special. But she's just, you know, larger than life, just wants to have a good time, has her two best friends, Toke and Gloria, who kind of go on this journey with her, played by Kende Bankole and Monachi Abi. So it was fun. Our director, Femi Ogusanwo, was just amazing to work with. And people are going to have fun. I think people are going to really be able to see themselves in her. We all have that.
From a woman's perspective, let's talk about the marriage institution in Nigeria, because a lot of women see it like it's an achievement when I get married. You know, my friend got married last week. God, when my own, God no go shame us. You know, you start saying God when and stuff like that. So what do you think about it? Do you think there's a lot of pressure being put on women instead of them to be happy as women, you know, regardless of the gender, than the marriage institution, which a lot of people feel like it's an achievement?
I don't think there's anything wrong with marriage at all. I think marriage is a wonderful institution. I think happy marriage is the goal, not just to be married.
That's a success,
yeah. So I think marrying for marrying's sake is not okay. I think life is, there's so many different phases in life. And I feel like in a society like Nigeria, we do put a lot of pressure on women to be married by a certain age and all of that. Like, it's so bad that some people don't even care whether they're happy or not, as long as they have a ring on their finger. And I think sometimes too, even in Nigeria, single women, they're disrespected a lot. Usually, like, your worth or your value is attached to whichever man you happen to be attached to, and that's not okay. I think marriage is great, but it's not the end of the world.
It's important to get into character when you're, you know, trying to portray a character in a movie.
Yeah.
So what would you say that you learned from Oyin Clegg as Adelauye that, you know, you took home and then right now you're infusing it into your life as Adelauye?
I think, as an actor, I think it's important to also separate yourself from the character.
But
otherwise, I'll just be walking around with like exactly. I'm like, I'm like schizophrenic and like breaking out into different characters at different times. No, I'm joking. I think for me, I love how Oyin grew through the course of the film. I like how her, you know, she starts kind of very one-track minded, and like Tunde was saying, like, you know, all the characters kind of got to a point where they figured out what made them happy. And I think for me, that's something I have taken and I want to continue living going forward. It's not about what society says, it's not about what anybody says. Find your own happiness and live that. And I feel like you just need to find purpose and you need to find fulfillment outside of what society says.
Okay, our time is almost up. But before we go, let's talk about the cast. I'm hearing Kende Bankole, Monachi Abi. That's like some loaded cast. What was the decision behind the choices, and how were you able to get all these people? Adelauye is here. You know, how were you able to get them on the project?
I already have scoop on that.
I mean, one name made the difference for me. You know, when you want to do things like this, the person you work with really, really matters. Femi Ogusanwo, who directed, made a lot of this happen. You know, in terms of how we went about casting, what he helped us do was to, I like the way he went about it. He set up parameters to say, for this role, these are the kind of things that we need. So we were able to, all of us just said, okay, this role is this person or this person for this role. And he made it happen that we got this very stellar cast. You know, we have people like Ade, we have Mona, we have Kende, we have Amaomi Dada. There are a couple of people else that we have that we're revealing tomorrow.
Okay.
But I mean, I can say some of them. I can say one of them. Tomorrow you get to meet the men of Finding Hubby.
Yeah. So when is it going to the cinema? Because we have to go. When do we expect to see it in the cinema?
Finding Hubby goes to the cinema in November, at the end of November.
Okay.
And is distributed by Genesis Distribution.
Thank you for
Finding wifey though.
part of Tea Time. Thank you for watching as well. Please do send your opinions via WhatsApp to 090-6000-5719 or Twitter to us at Plus TV Africa. Remember, you can watch Tea Time on R2 TV and of course in London on Ben Television. My thank you as always go to my co-anchors Ife Omai and Ife Oluwashoke and our guests Adela Oye and Tundeleye. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
My name is Elsie Godwin. Please do stay safe.
Edo is a very complex one. I am not a fan of Obaseki. I am not a fan of Oshiomhole.
APC is the ruling party in Nigeria.
Let me warn the APC, however, that our patience is not elastic.
Business of electoral franchise is a business of winning the souls and minds of the Edo people. We say capital rejectamenta.
Well, you didn't let me resolve the issue between you and your friend, comrade. If we had done it that time, everything would have been smoother than this.
When you do good or you do bad, you will forget. Those who are beneficiaries of victories of your action, they can forget.
I'm so elated that there was no incident of violence in the 182 wards. God took control.
I am assuring you, as the chief security officer of Edo, that there will be no violence in Edo for this election.
Join us on Plus TV Africa this Saturday for live updates on the Edo 2020 elections.
Oftentimes when we see celebrities either on social media, television, or in person, we assume they have it all together, but we forget that they are also human. Well, here are some of the low points of some of your favorite celebrities.
Hey, what's up? What's going on? It's Dice Ills, aka Mr. Miyagi, and we're just gonna give a few words to every up-and-coming artist or every dream chaser out there trying to be successful. I started off with just a dream and an undying passion to become Dice. Back in the day, a lot of people told me it wouldn't happen. A lot of people told me my dreams were too big. But one thing that I never stopped doing is I never stopped believing, and I never stopped having passion. And that's what you need to do as well. And when you ever hit success, never forget where you're coming from, because that's the only way that you can stay grounded. So believe in yourself, stay prayerful, and be passionate. One love. Bless.
Truth is, I've always wanted to be an actor in a terrain where people thought, oh, you may not fit in, this may not be the thing for you. I've always been desirous of being an actor, and one of my biggest people, mentors, or who I look up to, or the character I want to play, is even playing James Bond sometimes. But it's been a long journey for me. I didn't get here. Last year, 2019, I won Best Actor 2019 for Maya Awards, and I didn't get there all in one day. I've done a lot of things. I've worked in the bank. I worked in the bank for 9 years. I've done real estate. I've sold cars. I've sold lands. I've gone through the highs and lows. And initially, when I told people that I was leaving, I've been doing acting all my life. But when I told people I was going to leave and go full stream and full line into acting, people told me, don't go for this. I don't think that's what you should do. Maybe this is not for you. And it was a tough call to make. It was a tough decision to make, but I eventually decided that I was going to go for it. And I went from audition to audition to audition to audition to audition to audition till I got my first major job, and that led to my second, third, fourth, fifth. And I decided to go and upskill myself and go to film school, in the US. And I came back and I got a fantastic opening, a cinema movie where I played leading man with Omotola Jolade called The Tribunal. So it's been a very, very long journey. But one thing I can say is that whatever path you choose in life, as long as your heart is there, stick with it.
18 years down the lane, I'm still doing my thing as a stand-up comedian and also a master of ceremony. I've been through the vicissitudes of life. It was not like this before. I remember those years when when I was still in Warri, when I would go from show to show, looking for a platform to express myself. Thank God for helps around me, but it wasn't easy. because I had to convince people that, oh, hey, try me out, I'm funny and all that. I had to trek many times. Even when I moved to Lagos, oh God, I trekked all kinds of distance just to attend shows, just to maximize the opportunities I had. It wasn't funny. I had to squat with squatters. I lived with people that were living with people. It was that bad, but hey, all our stories now. I'm here, and I'm not where I want to be, but I'm not where I used to be. So don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on your dreams. As long as you believe you can do it, yeah, in spite of the pitfalls, of the shortcomings, still move on. Stand up, dust yourself off the feet, off the ground, and move on. All right. There are more to conquer than you have conquered.
Once upon a time in my life when I was doing this MC work and all these things, hosting gigs, and I did an event. I won't say the name of the organization. But you know, when they say, oh, we'll give you honorarium, I'm like, yeah, okay, great. And it's not a small organization. And when they finished, I got 25K. So I used the money with the love of God, fueled the car, and then kept the change to buy granules, sauce, and got the egg on the road. When it's your time, it's your time. Don't rush it, don't force it. What's yours is yours. What's meant to be yours will be yours. Nobody can take it away from you because you are you in yourself. Know your creator. And that way, you know that your creator did not create a joke. So therefore, just believe in yourself and your time will come. I love you guys. Thank you.
When I was younger, I had just lost my father. And it was at the time when, you know, we had that television that you open and close like cupboard. Okay, I know that a very high number of people may not understand this. And I came back. Our TV was not there, but our neighbor had bought a new kind of TV. It was colored, and all the kids in the neighborhood were sitting on the floor watching this TV. And then I came back from lesson, saw everyone sitting down there. It looked a bit different from ours, and the pictures looked finer because it was colored. And I stood by the curtain, and this lady just pulled the curtains together and shut me out. I felt bad. But I was also a big-mouthed young child. So I went to her and I said, because of me, you pulled the curtains together, right? The next time you look at that your TV, you will see me there. It was a joke. I mean, like, okay, it wasn't a joke, but I didn't know how it was going to happen. But I just wanted to tell her that she had no right to shut me out. And I went to school and I got this, the principal came in and said, Commissioner is looking for you. You're going to open up ROS TV. And guess what? When she put on her TV at 4 p.m., 2 months after, I was a continuity announcer who opened up that station. So don't be afraid and don't worry about how anyone looks at you right now. Worry more about how you see you. Worry more about what you intend to do with you. Worry more about how convinced you are about anything that you want to do. It doesn't matter. People can close their windows, close their doors, tell you to get out, tell you to sit down, tell you to go to bed. It's okay. They're not God. He has a final say. But guess what? You have the final work. Because if you don't work and work towards it, God is just going to stand there waiting. It is what you give to him that he will enhance. I hope this does somebody some good. We're all stars, I tell you. When you look up, you see a lot of them. I'm sure you're up there and shining, okay? So please, put some glow to your own star. Love ya!
On The Breakfast Show today, we take a look at issues of praying for Nigeria as it turns 60. Are prayers just enough to save Nigeria? Our experts in studio and virtually will tell us. We also look at the matters on the lips of everyone at this time, the Edo State elections. How prepared are we really? What are the expectations? The National Commissioner for Information and Voter Education, Festus Okoye, would shed light on this. These and more all lined up for you on The Breakfast just after this break. I am Osaogie Ogbonwa.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent. From the barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
Edo is a very complex one. I am not a fan of Obaseki. I am not a fan of Oshiomhole.
APC is the ruling party in Nigeria.
Let me warn the APC, however, that our patience is not elastic.
Business of electoral franchise is a business of winning the souls and minds of the Edo people. We say capital rejectamenta.
Where you didn't let me resolve the issue between you and your friend, comrade. If we had done it that time, it would have been smoother than this.
When you do good or you do bad, you will forget. Those who are beneficiaries of victories of your action, they don't forget.
And I'm so elated that there was no incident of violence in the 182 wards. God took control.
I am assuring you, as the chief security officer of Edo, that there will be no violence in Edo for this election.
Join us on Plus TV Africa this Saturday for live updates on the Edo 2020 elections.
Welcome once again to The Breakfast. Nigeria has recorded 131 new cases of the COVID-19. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, disclosed this on Thursday. Of the new cases, Lagos recorded 45, Kaduna and Plateau State with 17 new cases, while the FCT recorded 16. Other affected states were Delta and Niger with 6 each, Kwara with 5, Oyo with 3, Akwa Ibom, Cross River, Ekiti, Enugu, Osun and Sokoto with 2 cases each, while Bauchi, Ebonyi, Katsina and Rivers have 1 each. The new cases now bring the total infections in the country to 56,735. Meanwhile, 48,092 cases have recovered and been discharged from various isolation centers, while 1,093 unfortunately have lost their lives. And as the nation prepares for the reopening of schools, the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 has mandated schools to carry out weekly risk assessment, while states and local governments are to conduct monthly and quarterly risk assessments. Head Department of Surveillance and Epidemiology, LC Ilori, Nigeria Center for Disease Control, announced this on Thursday in Abuja at the joint PTF briefing on COVID-19. According to her, the PTF has continued to educate the public on measures to reduce the risk of transmission of COVID-19. The Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, is seeking an increased budgetary allocation for Nigeria's health sector. The head of occupational health for the NLC, Maureen Ekwazi, who made the call at a workshop to commemorate the 2020 World Patients Day in Abuja, says there is a need for the federal government to increase health allocations if it is ready and really ready to commit to improving the overall health performance in the country. Ekwazi's call follows the announcement by the Global Fund to donate 890 $90 million to the Nigerian government to strengthen the nation's health sector. The amount is due to be disbursed and implemented from 2021 to 2023. She, however, added that the safety of health workers must be prioritized to guarantee the safety of patients who access various health facilities in the country.
Nigeria has been given $890 million by global funds, but that will be from 2021 to 2023. And that money will be signed if we put all our documents in order, because we're working on it now. We're doing what we call grant making. So my message to the Nigerian government is that a lot of money comes into this country on health sector. First of all, in 2001, there was an Abuja declaration that says, and our president then was the head of states in Africa, I think so. They promised 15% budget for health in their different countries. And that declaration took place in Abuja. As I'm talking to you, the last budget of health was not up to 4%.
What we're doing today is to see how we can ensure, adding our voice to how we can ensure people who go to hospitals to receive care have no reason for their cases to be compounded. There have been several reports of people going to hospital to receive care. At the end of the day, they either get maimed, they have what you call secondary infection, some get their case complicated, some even die along the line. We have realized, through WHO, that for us to achieve patient safety, we must first look at the safety of the healthcare worker. If the healthcare worker is not safe, if the healthcare workplace is not safe, there is no way we can have patient safety. So we're first looking at the system as a whole, looking at workers that work in the system. How can we create safety?
President Muhammadu Buhari, while hosting President Mark Christian Kabore of Burkina Faso at the State House Abuja, said Nigeria is within the limit of resources and will continue to support the consolidation of democracy in the West African country. President Buhari said Nigeria would support countries that have elections for smooth transition. Burkina Faso holds legislative elections in November this year. President Kabore, who chairs the Economic Trade and Liberalization Scheme of ECOWAS, said he was in Nigeria to discuss crucial sub-regional issues with President Muhammadu Buhari. And also, the President, Muhammadu Buhari, has signed the Nigeria Police Bill 2020 into law. The President, in a memo dated September 16, 2020, communicated his assent to the bill to the National Assembly through the clerk of the legislature. The statement issued by Femi Adesina, Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, explained that the act repeals the Police Act Cap P19 Laws of the Federation 2004 and provides for a more effective and well-organized police force driven by the principles of transparency and accountability in its operations and management of its resources. Wale Babalakin has resigned as the Pro-Chancellor of the University of Lagos. A media aide to the suspended Pro-Chancellor of Unilag, Mikhail Mumuni, confirmed the resignation of Babalakin as the institution's chairman of the Governing Council and Pro-Chancellor. This is coming a few hours after the presidential visitation panel set up by the President, Muhammadu Buhari, to look into the crisis that led to the removal of the Vice-Chancellor, Oluwatoyin Ogundipe, submitted its report on Thursday. The Governing Council of the University of Lagos had confirmed the removal of the Vice-Chancellor, Professor Ogundipe, from office. And also in the news, the Conference of Civil Society Organizations has called on Nigerians to disregard allegations indicting the management of the Northeast Development Commission, NEDC, of corruption. Chairperson of the group, Adams Otaku, who made the call while addressing journalists in Abuja, stated that until proven guilty, it is wrong to accuse the agency of fraud.
Every agency of government is subject to oversight by the National Assembly. Until proven otherwise, it remains an allegation. We have only been able, as a watchdog of society, to report our assessment and our findings based on our own private, independent assessment that we conducted. So, we accept your point that any agency of government is subject to public scrutiny. Our assessment indicates further that response initiatives to the COVID-19 pandemic by the Commission flattened the curve of the pandemic by a significant 68% in the zone. These areas of intervention included, amongst others, risk communication and sensitization, distribution of medical equipment, support for treatment and management of cases, procurement of health facilities, and equipping of molecular laboratories. Our findings show that the Commission's Education Empowerment Fund, EEF, is currently boosting human capacity in the region by about 78%.
The Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, along with officials on the way route. Plus TV Africa correspondent Adebanke Odunui has more on this.
The Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, accompanied by the officials of the Nigerian Railway Corporation and members of the press, embarked on an inspection tour. After the first leg of the inspection, the progress of the project was commended.
The tracks, we have completed 95% of the tracks. The station buildings, some are maybe 80%, some are at 60 or 70. So it's not easy to give an overall something. There are different segments to the project, but by and large, our hope is that we have a target date of the end of December this year to complete everything for this.
There are some little improvement of what we saw last time we came. The station like Olodo, Kajola have gone very far, while Ebutemeta has also gone far.
Like with any government project, private partnership is essential and efforts are being made to involve partners.
Yes, we have plans for the private sector. The commercial aspect of it, like this container movement of containers, is actually for the private sector. We help them to move containers to inland depots. We partner with them. We also partner with people who provide ticketing solutions to us. You know, also in most of our stations, we have commercial platforms where people can come and establish their own business to partner with us in those places. So
proactive strategies to prevent train accidents are in the works.
The way to avoid accidents has been put in place by ensuring that there is going to be fencing in all our new tracks.
After inspecting all 9 stations, the minister gave his assessment of the work done and the next steps for the ministry after the project is completed.
Did they meet my target? The answer is no. My target was, before we come on September 15, we should have finished all the minor stations. Did they meet that target? The answer is no. What's the excuse? We don't have enough engineers to supervise. We have sent to the cabinet for approval for the award of 2 railway contracts. Port Harcourt, Bonnet, also sent to the cabinet award of contract is the Kano Maradi Railway.
We have journeyed from Ebutemeta to Ibadan to inspect the work being done on the construction site, and we can see that work has gone on quite well in spite of the pandemic and the rainy season. It is the hope of the federal government, the Ministry of Transportation, that work is completed as soon as possible. For Plus TV Africa, Adebanke Odunui.
The Center for Liberty has once again called on the Nigerian Senate to disregard plans to pass the Protection from Internet Falsehood Bill, also known as the Fake News Bill. The group made the call during the launch of its preliminary report on strategies adopted by other democratic nations to tackle issues relating to the spread of fake news.
Liberty believes that the proposed bill should be withdrawn because it is unfit for a democratic country like Nigeria. And while it agrees that fake news is indeed a problem in the country, it equally believes that there are democratic solutions that Nigeria can create or adopt from other democratic nations around the world to tackle the problem of fake news.
What we have tried to do really, as earlier read by my colleague, is to look at what other democratic countries are doing, to the problem of fake news and hate speech in their own societies. And one very key thing that we must flog again is that none of them is using tyrannical legislations to combat or address the problem of fake news in their countries?
Combat fake news by providing accurate, timeless information to the public, because that's the fastest way to combat fake news. It's not by going around harassing people or arresting people for sharing views or comments or reposting views that they have also gotten online. But the greatest way of combating fake news is by providing timeless information.
Fake news could lead to problems, violence, and other untoward things. The only reason why we said these two bills should be deleted from the record of the National Assembly is simply because they don't have any substance to offer. What we need is a policy action of the federal government on how to combat fake news.
Welcome back. The Center for Democracy and Development, CDD, has called on the indigents of Edo State to come out in their numbers and vote in the September 19th governorship election. The group made the call while addressing journalists during its pre-election analysis in Abuja. The group, however, raised concerns over the rise in cases of insecurity and violence in the build-up to the election.
To appeal to the people of Edo State to come out and vote, but do so peacefully, defend their mandates, and not allow those who want to scuttle the elections to do so. Because doing so will be a setback, not only for Edo State, but for the country as a whole and for our reputation abroad.
INEC should be ready to extend voting hours, in particular if they have to implement their COVID-19 policy. And because it takes longer period of time to conduct the elections compared to what it used to be. And on this, we want them to actually have a complaint policy on ground. Their communication, again, must be very, very apt and timely in these elections. Also, it has to be compared to elections, and of course, they must be ready to extend voting hours because voting may take longer than normal.
I want to emphasize the importance of security agencies being neutral, being non-partisan, and above all, acting in a constitutional and lawful manner.
And still talking about Edo State, the state governor, Godwin Obaseki, launched the state's sexual offenders register with a charge to prosecutors to prioritize sexual cases and, of course, gender-based violence in the state. Jacinta Obiuku reports.
I am sure you all agree with me that history has been made today as we formally launch the first Sexual Assault Referral Center, SAC, which we have named the Vivian Center to immortalize the name of Vivian Ogu, who unfortunately lost her life over a decade ago in having been sexually abused. I'm using this opportunity to appeal to prosecutors, to appeal to the judges that they should prioritize cases that relate to sexual offenders.
The governor also inaugurated a state sexual assault referral center, SAC, in Benin City, named after Vivian Ogu, a 14-year-old girl who was killed by armed robbers for resisting rape attempt by the robbers. Speaking at the launch, the Commissioner for Justice, Yinka Omarugbe, says there is a need for a register in view of the alarming increase in sexual gender-based violence, especially in Edo State.
The problem of sexual violence is a plague of international dimensions. It's unfortunately also prevalent in Nigeria. It has led to great trauma and death. In Edo State, we have decided not just to sorrow and to weep, but to take concrete steps to fight this evil by enshrining and establishing processes, and solutions.
As part of the event, a short story was presented by a group advocacy against sexual abuse.
Their lips parched from wailing and screaming, "No justice, no peace." Our children should never have to walk the streets of their home with uncertainty hugging their feet.
The register will contain information of reported, arraigned, and convicted people involved in cases of sexual violation or abuse as defined by the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act. Jacinta Obiuku, Plus TV Africa.
The National Orientation Agency, NOA, has called on all Nigerians to take pride in showcasing the national symbols in the spirit of patriotism and nationhood. The Director General of the agency, Garba Abari, made the call while addressing journalists at the launch of the One Nigeria campaign and a reality show in collaboration with stakeholders in the Nigerian entertainment industry. The campaign was launched in commemoration of the National Symbols Day in Abuja, which is celebrated a few weeks before Nigeria's Independence Day.
The One Nation project is centered around the Nigerian flag as a rallying and unifying symbol to reignite citizens' passion for the country at such a time when many Nigerians are turning towards their ethnic and religious inclinations more than the corporate existence of the country. The National Orientation Agency calls on agencies of government, on the organized private sector, and the other people of goodwill and public-spirited individuals, and indeed all Nigerians, to take pride in projecting our national symbols the way most nations do.
Let us all as Nigerians first see ourselves as Nigerians before whatever ethnic group we're from. We're going to have different family audition. It's a family unit, not an individual. It's a family unit that is going to compete against another family unit. And the winning family becomes the national family for the want of a better word.
I have seen how people patronize our music and movies. So these music and movies we're talking about has a lot of things concerning our tradition, our culture in it. So what I think my fellow entertainers should try to do is to show the positive aspects of these things, the culture, the tradition, just so people get to understand that our culture is positive, our culture is something they would love to identify with.
And ahead of Nigeria's 60th independence anniversary, Nigerians across the world have been challenged to intercede for the country. The concept, tagged Project 720, is an exercise to engage 720 persons praying every day for an hour, a minute for 24 hours, for 30 days for the country. Joining us to talk more on Praying for Nigeria are Obi Pax Harry, a visioner, Arise Nigeria Project, and Mrs. Yemisi Subair, coordinator, Arise Nigeria Project. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning.
I'm going to kick off with Obi Pax Harry. Pray, to what extent is this call? Because there's some people that would argue that this is not what Nigeria needs at this time. Of course, arguing also that the country has been very religious with little to show as development.
Well, I beg to disagree. I would say that this is exactly what Nigeria needs coming up to her 60th birthday. What is so different about what we're doing is that it is to a common good. The vision of Arise Nigeria Project 720 is to pray that for oaks of righteousness, that is Nigerians, men and women, who are going to be standard bearers, who are going to be transformational leaders, who are going to be ethical leaders to move the nation forward. So it's not a religious exercise that is to no avail. Indeed, it is one that we are so passionate about because of the way the instruction came, that we didn't even know that there were 720 hours in the month of September, because you don't go calculating the hours in a month. But there are 720 hours in September. And if our God would say, that we are to pray every hour, it means every hour produces someone who's going to be able to move our nation forward, because that's what we need, transformational leaders and not transactional ones as we have had. So I want to put forward that this is an exercise that is not a religious one, but is one of conviction, and is one that we're very certain would produce what God wants to produce. Indeed, among many of us praying, we could even be the oaks of righteousness. So we are experiencing personal transformation as we pray and speak the right words over our nation.
All right, I want to ask, of course, still to Mrs. Harry, I want to ask about, how you would respond to statements like, we've been praying for so long. Every Sunday there, still are intercessory prayers for Nigeria for the longest, time possible. But it doesn't seem like a lot has changed, or it has been effective. It doesn't seem like those prayers have been able to give us the leaders that we seek. How would you respond to that, to encourage anyone to believe that this might be a little different?
Fair enough. What I would like to say to anyone that is listening, that prayer is not an end. Prayer is a means to an end. So while we pray, we have to understand that our prayers give us opportunity to take action. And that's where we need to be able to move. We need to become a little bit more connected with reality of what our situation is. If you read the Bible, indeed, Jesus was radical. He didn't just pray, he prayed and he worked. And so that's the transition that we are hoping will occur. And that's why we believe so much in Project 720, and that it all makes sense. And, the scripture that, governs this, Matthew 7:20 says, by their fruit you shall know them. So we need to really think about it and not just pray without thinking about it. If Jesus says by their fruit you shall know them, it means we are talking about people whose character should define them going forward. And it also informs us that we're talking about the future. Where there is a problem is where we wear blinkers and we use prayer as a cover-up. It's not an end, it's a means to an end. And that's what we've got to communicate, and that's where what we're communicating on this project. I think the reason a lot of people are connecting to it is that it really gives a practical message. It's a call to action. It's something that really touches the heart. It's not a religious mask. It's not an exercise of religion. I personally believe that prayer makes a way for you to be able to see, the action plan, the strategy of God. You don't pray and then, don't vote. You don't pray and then, don't choose your leaders right. You don't pray and not be connected, with the reality of what's on ground. So no, it's totally different here.
Okay, hold on a second. Apologies, we'll need to interject here. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll continue with this conversation and also be speaking with Yemisi Super. Stay with us.
A recent study shows that this preventable disease accounts for 15% of all deaths of children under the age of 5.
As quickly as possible. We will push that project no matter what happens. Our production lines are operating at full capacity, and our engineers
5 times more likely to receive early childhood education than the poor in their area.
There is a digital divide, and we hope that this will allow people who previously had no way of accessing material to
or we frequently travel on those roads. The damage done
the fight of our lives. The United Nations Secretary General has called for a ceasefire in countries locked down in a long-term conflict.
Nothing is more important than our children. Parents, the health of your children is in your hands. Don't send them out without ensuring that they are safe. As children prepare to return to school, What have you done to keep them protected? When it's time to resume, protect your child and others with CAS 3-in-1 Protection Pack. It comes with a medically approved face shield, a 100% cotton face mask, and a portable hand sanitizer spray, approved to protect yourself.
There ain't nothing like sunshine and air to make you feel like you don't have a care. There ain't no one else around but you. So here's exactly what you're gonna do. Take your hands and dig deep into your soul. Let yourself lose control. Turn it up, so get up. Can you feel it all over? No, you'll never know when you get the chance. So put on your favorite song and
Look at unprotected guy going after COVID-19 early.
Oh, unprotected guy is knocked to the ground.
Unprotected guy is hurt, but COVID-19 is still approaching. He's approaching. He's. Oh my word!
I am the meanest, toughest virus there is. Is there anyone out there who can even challenge me?
It's Gas Champion! He's making his way to the ring.
He's no match for COVID-19.
I will break you. I will make you sick.
You want try? Oh yeah, now.
He's done it! Gas Champion has beaten COVID-19 with a 3-in-1 protection pack. Unbelievable!
CAS 3-in-1 Complete Protection. Protect others to protect yourself.
Welcome back to The Breakfast, and still having a conversation this morning with Obi Pax Hari and Mrs. Yemisi Subai. We're talking about the 720, as it is called, a project that is set to encourage Nigerians to pray for the country. So I want to speak with Mrs. Subai now. I want to quickly get your views on prayer and why you think this might be the answer.
Thank you very much. Prayer is always the answer. And as Apostle Obi said, it's not an end, it's a means to an end. And the way the Project 720 is structured, we're all praying the same prayer. And as you pray that prayer, it focuses your mind on it awakens you to begin to think about solutions, not just talking about the problems, but it awakens you in many ways. It brings hope to your mind because you're praying to a God that answers prayers. You're not just talking to yourself, you're talking to a God that can do all things. And so what we really need at this point in time is indeed prayer. And this sort of prayer that awakens, prayer of revival, prayer that brings to your consciousness the sort of not just the problems, but the solutions to the problems. And that's why we say that the focus of Project 720 is about raising 720 oaks of righteousness. These are people that are selfless. These are people that are, transformational change agents. These are people that will stand up to be counted, whether anybody recognizes them or not, in their various spheres of influence, because we're praying, we're touching every part of our national life. And many of the people that are praying are involved in activities, either by way of employment or business in some of those sectors. And so as the prayer is going on, they're beginning to see and find that, they can be used to bring solution in their sectors. Thank you.
All right. 60 years is symbolic, and I'm still speaking with Mrs. Subai now. 60 years is symbolic. Why did you choose to do this now? At this time in our country's history?
well, we didn't choose to do this now. This is an instruction from God that Apostle Hubby received. So it's not the idea of man. It's not something that somebody thought and said, oh, this would be nice. This is a nice way to celebrate Nigeria at 60. And what that speaks to you is that God is thinking about this nation. God is mindful of us as a people. And that brings so much joy. I mean, it's a privilege, you know. So it's not that we thought it up. It's a vision received from God by Apostle Hubby.
Brilliant. And now let's speak with Obi Harry now. I want to get your thoughts on this. Nigeria over time has been plagued with religious intolerance. Case in mind, of course, is in southern Kaduna. What more would you recommend to end this age-long feud between natives and settlers in the name of religious differences?
Well, I think that wherever there is a gap, there's someone that's not told the truth. There's someone that is benefiting from it. I think if we all begin to kind of get a global vision of what is required, I mean, if we all begin to get a new understanding of what crimes to humanity is, such as racism, tribalism, I think if we begin to define some of these activities, then we begin to figure out the people that are in between who are not telling the truth. The truth of the matter is where, government is effective and where we have these oaks of righteousness that we are really praying will come out. These are people that, the Bible calls them, because we're Christians, repairers of the breach. There's absolutely no reason for any man not to have love for the other man. There is absolutely no reason for religion to be a divider or tribe or tongue. I think what it is selfishness, and what it is selfish interest. So wherever, dividends of democracy is enjoyed by the people, there is mutual respect. There is respect for what the other believes. And really, people get converted to what you believe by the way that you live out your life. And that has to be a message that, comes out. This is why we need oaks of righteousness. And what is so awesome about when you say oaks of righteousness, these are people, men and women that are planted. When you say planted by God, God works through man. And that's another thing that we've got to understand. I think in Africa, we've got to do a lot more work, and we have to be more committed to pragmatic practice of the faith, and we have to, follow, our role model, Jesus Christ, who embodied love and who embodied not tolerance, but who embodied love and community and respect and wisdom and all of that. So, with Southern Kaduna and all of that, what makes any Nigerian feel that they are better than the other? What makes any Nigerian feel that they should, take the resources of Nigeria and give to others as handouts? What exactly makes you think that you should take the wealth of a people and give it to them as handouts and expect gratitude from them and by their hearts? So there is a lot that is wrong. We have an issue with values. Our value system's gone wrong. With the values erosion, and we really desperately need prayers at this time. And we're not the only ones praying. All over Nigeria, Nigerians are praying in draws for the 60th year. We could just believe this time that this is going to be a catalytic one. We could just believe that, the collection of the efforts of Nigerians speaking what's prayer. Prayer is communicating to God. Like Mrs. Subaya said, a lot of the people, the change agents, a lot of the people that are involved in Arise Nigeria Project 720 are people that are already positioned in these spheres.
Okay.
So, when you talk about, religious divide and, religious wars, it's really barbaric that in the 21st century, people are still fighting the kind of wars that they should not fight. And what is so sad is that the people that are involved in these wars are already disenfranchised.
Yeah.
So I would want to say that, that's a good question. And that question actually, kind of enhances and it helps, our message that there are Nigerians who can actually do a lot about Nigeria.
All right, so hold on. Let me go back to Mrs. Subair. I want to quickly ask now. You are the coordinator of the Arise Nigeria project. I want to ask about accommodating other religions? Because we just spoke about religious tolerance, and I think I'm going to have this question go both ways, to you and, of course, Mrs. Obi Harry. How do you plan accommodating other Nigerians of other religious beliefs in this project? Are other people also welcome to join, and of course also pray for Nigeria with this project? People with,
Thank you
of
very
course,
much.
different religious
The
beliefs.
thing about prayer is that it's a journey of faith, and you must believe in the God that you're praying to. Now, we are praying in the name of Jesus, and we're praying to Jehovah God. So if you do believe in Jesus and you believe in God, then you're welcome to join, because the way we're all praying the same prayers. We have a central prayer bulletin, and as long as you believe, the problem is if you don't believe, why would you join? Why would you pray to a God you don't believe in? So that's where, but everybody is welcome to join as long as you believe.
All right, okay, let's also have Obi Pax Harry also respond to that.
What can I add to such a brilliant answer, really? I couldn't even add anything more to, that brilliant answer that really summarizes everything. You're welcome to join us. But as Mrs. Subaya said, really, she's answered it. There's really, we're praying in the name of Jesus Christ, and you are welcome. And what is so amazing about Nigeria is that our diversity is our strength. I mean, I'm in Abuja when I'm in Nigeria, and a lot of, Muslims, come through our place. But you see, you don't have to drop your values for anything, but what you believe in is I'm talking about us, our faith. So we're praying in the name of Jesus, and really everyone is welcome. Our core really is to convert, you into the saving grace and knowledge of Jesus Christ. So you're welcome, to come in the pathway of the name of Jesus to join us.
Okay.
Honestly, you are welcome.
Quickly also speak on the 720 oaks, like you mentioned. How do you pull these people together? Do you already have, a plan on gathering these 720 people, and what is expected of them?
Okay. I'll also give our coordinator opportunity to explain it. What is remarkable about, God and prayer is that there is a stirring as we pray. Like I said, there's 720 people praying every hour, and the instruction is to pray because the hand of God, that is, people are going to get stirrings. For instance, in the center that I run in Abuja, the only member of a rep that is from the Labour Party was mentored right by us. We've had several people that we intentionally mentor, for governance, intentionally mentor to run, elections, intentionally mentor. So there are people already who, have the capacity, so the worst of us are leading the best of us. So our hope is that as we pray, the best of us will have the courage to come out, to fight for, the heart and soul of our nation. And I say that again, the worst of us are leading the best of us. And the time has come for there to be a shift. So we are praying, the oaks of righteousness could be us. As we pray, we believe that the consciousness, of Nigerians, those that are praying, those that are joining, those that are hearing about it, will be awakened. When your consciousness is awakened, then your conscience will be awakened. And when your conscience is awakened, you're going to make some difficult decisions. You're going to take some risks. And really, there is no one that can fix Nigeria except Nigerians. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I that is where that is my kind of stance on this matter.
Yeah.
That as we pray, those oaks of righteousness are people whose character, has been tested already. People who qualify, who will no longer allow the worst of us to lead the best of us.
All right, Mrs. Subai, I think you can also quickly speak on that. I'm still talking about the selection process for the 720 oaks. And as the number increases, and it most likely goes more than 720, how does that work out?
Okay, there is no selection. It's for anybody who is willing. But the way we've structured was to set up 10 groups, and we appointed 10 generals, and each general is to find 72 people who are willing to pray. And that makes 10 times 72 is 720. So you have 720, and then the 720 are now, we're covering the 24 hours. So that means 30 people to pray every hour. So that's the way we're running it. Now, talking about the oaks of righteousness, how do they arise? Our prayer is that as we're praying, we trust God that there will be a stirring. The truth is, there's so many brilliant Nigerians all over the world. I mean, we read about them all the time, even in the British Parliament. There are many Nigerians there. In America, in medical science, Nigerians are doing a lot of great things. And even here locally, there are a lot of Nigerians. And many people, they sort of like have apathy towards affairs of the nation. But our prayer is that as we continue to stir in the spirit, many people who otherwise wouldn't have come out to be counted will now step out and step up into the scene. And, these are the oaks of righteousness that we're talking about. And as we mentioned, some of the people who are praying themselves are oaks of righteousness. And, this prayer is bringing to their consciousness that they too can be part of the solution.
Okay, when does this start? Mrs. Harry, can you respond to that? When does this start?
Oh, we started on the 1st of September, and it's running through the 30th of September. And guess what is exciting? Many nationals, many people from other nations have joined us. And that's really exciting. As far as Dominican Republic, as far as Aruba, as far as Curacao, and obviously in the United States, people that are non-Nigerians have joined us, all praying for Nigeria at 60. So yes, on the 30th of September at midnight, this particular, the prayer ceases. And I believe that Project 720 will then go into a different dimension of, preparing, these oaks of righteousness and being there to serve whatever next that God has for us.
All right. Obi Pax Harry, a vision of Arise Nigeria Project, and of course, Mrs. Yemisi Subair, coordinator, Arise Nigeria Project. Thank you both for speaking with us. Of course, looking forward to another conversation always.
Thank you. Thank you. Pleasure.
The wife of the Oyo State Governor, Tamunomini Makinde, has called for more solid plans in addressing problems facing widows across the state, saying that the government will continue to make policies that would always empower them so as to meet their daily needs and to be able to care for their children. She said this in Ibadan while distributing gift items to widows in the state, which was held at the Presidential Lodge, Government House, Ibadan. The governor's wife pointed out that widows all over the world faced a lot of hardship and they struggle to meet their daily needs. She called on widows across the state to boost their worth and not subject themselves to self-pity. Eunice Oedokun, the wife of the Ogbomoso South local government area, promised to reciprocate some gesture in her domain.
Know that the government is there with them and the government will always be there for them. The governor has, the widows at heart, and he's really going to put something together to augment their life and empower them to care for their children.
We appreciate the wife of the governor, and it's a privilege to be here. We'll make sure that these palliatives get to the local government. We call them one by one and make sure that they are the right people to have it.
I'm so happy and very excited. May God continue to bless and guide our mother. May God uplift her and bless her abundantly. May God always keep her going in and out safe.
You're still watching Plus TV Africa. The breakfast continues shortly after this break.
Edo is a very complex one. I am not a fan of Obaseki. I am not a fan of Oshiomhole.
APC is the ruling party in Nigeria.
Let me warn the APC, however, that our patience is not elastic.
Business of electoral franchise is a business of winning the souls and minds of the Edo people. We say capital rejectamenta.
where you didn't let me resolve the issue between you and your friend, comrade. If we had done it that time, everything would have been smoother than this.
When you do good or you do bad, you will forget. Those who are beneficiaries of victims of your action, they will forget.
I'm so elated that there was no incident of violence in the 182 wards. God took control.
I am assuring you, as the chief security officer of Edo, that there will be no violence in Edo for this election.
Join us on Plus TV Africa this Saturday for live updates on the Edo 2020 elections.
We can't talk about education reform if we don't decolonize our education system.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize. Because it's just cultural. And I think it's just human nature.
They stop paying us salary. I don't like remembering it.
I am angry at Nigeria. I'm angry at this government which seems to be letting us down. I'm angry at us as a people.
In the process of struggling to free myself from his hand, he tore my pants and he raped me.
Yes, I commit offense truly.
Young girl, do you know where you are going? I say, I'm going to America. I say, oh, now so that they talk, you are going to Libya, which America?
As it then do mark our place, some people they die now.
This is Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
Many thanks for joining us on News on the Hour on Plus TV Africa.
State government has approved a bill for the establishment of State Security Network Agency, Amoteco.
We have the highest number of extremely poor people in the world.
He's not concerned about lecturers that are raping students that are under their care. He's concerned about them being stigmatized.
And I can tell you that he will get the result in full measure. He cannot avoid responsibility.
Why the focus on Africa at this point?
The news only cover, one side of Africa. So we always felt like the picture is incomplete. So we need the whole picture.
65% of these people, whom we term as the urban poor, live in settlements, otherwise known as slums.
This is just the tip of the iceberg of the road situations in Lagos, from the mainland to the island.
It's been a closed-door security meeting as the retreat for senior police officers hits day 3.
There's this basket or there's this bowl that we all come to the center to pick from. Everybody has to see Nigeria as an investment vehicle, not as a distributive mechanism.
Still on the foreign scenes, Russia has flatly denied allegations that is spreading disinformation about the new coronavirus outbreak on social media.
Australian Open debutant Coco Gauff defeated defending champion Naomi Osaka in 2 straight sets.
Kenneth Okonkwo Kanayo and Bob Manuel Udoku have been conferred with the Veteran Actor of Nigeria Award.
This is Plus TV Africa.
Plus TV Africa.
Plus TV Africa.
Big stories live here.
And welcome back. Nigeria has recorded 131 new cases of the COVID-19. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, disclosed this on Thursday. Of the new cases, Lagos recorded 45, Kaduna and Plateau State with 17, while the FCT recorded 16. Other affected states were Delta and Niger with 6 each, Kwara with 5, Oyo with 3, Akwa Ibom, Cross River, Ekiti, Enugu, Osun and Sokoto with 2 cases each, while Bauchi, Ebonyi, Katsina and Rivers had 1 each. The new cases now bring the total number of infections in the country to 56,735. Meanwhile, 48,092 have recovered and been discharged from the various isolation centers, while 1,093 unfortunately lost their lives. And as the nation prepares for the reopening of schools, the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 has mandated schools to carry out weekly risk assessment, while states and local governments are to conduct monthly and quarterly risk assessments. Head, Department of Surveillance and Epidemiology, LC Lori, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, announced this on Thursday in Abuja at the joint PTF briefing on COVID-19. According to her, the PTF has continued to educate the public on measures to reduce the risk of transmission of COVID-19. And the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, is seeking an increased budgetary allocation for Nigeria's health sector. The head of occupational health for the NLC, Maureen Ekwazi, who made the call at a workshop to commemorate the 2020 World Patients Day in Abuja, says there is a need for the federal government to increase health allocations if it is really committed to improving the overall health performance in the country. Ekwazi's call follows the announcement by the Global Fund to donate $890 million to the Nigerian government to strengthen the nation's health sector. The amount is due to be disbursed and implemented from 2021 to 2023. She, however, added that the safety of health workers must be prioritized to guarantee the safety of patients who access various health facilities in the country.
Nigeria has been given $890 million by global funds, but that will be from 2021 to 2023. And that money will be signed if we put all our documents in order, because we're working on it now. We're doing what we call grant making. So my message to the Nigerian government is that a lot of money comes into this country on health sector. First of all, in 2001, there was an Abuja declaration that says, and our president then was the head of states in Africa, I think so. They promised 15% budget for health in their different countries. And that declaration took place in Abuja. As I'm talking to you, the last budget of health was not up to 4%.
What we're doing today is to see how we can ensure, adding our voice to how we can ensure people who go to hospitals to receive care have no reason for their cases to be compounded. There have been several reports of people going to hospital to receive care. At the end of the day, they either get maimed, they have what you call secondary infection, some get their case complicated, some even die along the line. We have realized, through WHO, that for us to achieve patient safety, we must first look at the safety of the healthcare worker. If the healthcare worker is not safe, if the healthcare workplace is not safe, there is no way we can have patient safety. So we are first looking at the system as a whole, looking at workers that work in the system. How can we create safety net for them?
The Defense and Police Officers' Wives Association, the POA, has donated several items to the Hope Orphanage and Less Privileged Home in Abuja. Vice President of the association, Abies Ogunwe, while presenting the COVID-19 palliatives to the orphanage home, said the gesture is in fulfillment of the association's corporate social responsibility.
As part of our palliative, to help in alleviating the suffering all around the world right now. So the POA chose this particular orphanage here in Cuba to be part of our palliative program, and that's why we're here this morning. You can see we have brought a lot of things, a lot of foodstuffs that will be able to take care of our children, at least for the next 6 months, to be able to feed well and to grow very well.
Grateful to the POA. We are very, very grateful. We didn't expect this. But I know that the Lord that pushed you people to this place will reward you people. Yeah. We don't have anything to return to you people, but all we have is prayers. We don't have money to return. We don't have the food to return to you people. But all I have to say is that Almighty God will bless you one after the other in Jesus' name.
And the Center for Disease Democracy, and Development, CDD, has called on the indigents of Edo State to come out in their numbers and vote in the September 19th governorship election. The group made a call while addressing journalists during its pre-election analysis in Abuja. The group, however, raised concerns over the rise in cases of insecurity and violence in the build-up to the election.
To appeal to the people of Edo State to come out and vote, but do so peacefully, defend their mandates, and not allow those who want to scuttle the elections to do so. Because doing so will be a setback, not only for Edo State, but for the country as a whole and for our reputation abroad.
INEC should be ready to extend voting hours, in particular if they have to implement their COVID-19 policy. And because it takes longer period of time to conduct the elections compared to what it used to be. And on this, we want them to actually have a complaint policy on ground. Their communication again must be very, very apt and timely in these elections. Also, it has to be compared to elections, and of course, they must be ready to extend voting hours because voting may take longer than normal.
I want to emphasize the importance of security agencies being neutral, being non-partisan, and above all, acting in a constitutional and lawful manner.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, yesterday said it had made adequate preparations for the Edo State governorship election scheduled for tomorrow. The commission, which met yesterday to further review preparations for the Edo and Ondo state elections, as well as all outstanding by-elections, said all sensitive materials for the Edo poll had left the custody of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Benin City, for the various local government areas in the state. Agents of the political parties involved in the election, as well as those of the accredited observer groups, observed the distribution of the sensitive materials, the commission said in a statement. INEC implored all the relevant stakeholders to continue to observe the distribution of the sensitive materials as they are moved further down the chain to the registration area centers, RACs. And we're now joined by the National Commissioner on Information, INEC, Festus Okoye. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning.
As at today, what is your assessment of the level of preparedness from your end for the election, which is less than 24 hours from now?
Well, we've made it very, very clear that we are prepared. We have done what the law and the Constitution expects us to do. We are proactive. We distributed all the non-sensitive materials to the various local governments almost a month before this particular election. And some of these non-sensitive materials we are already biased to the registration area level. And we have a total of 192 registration areas or wards. And so on Wednesday, we met with representatives of the political parties, representatives of civil society groups and organizations, and agreed on the modalities for the distribution and inspection of the materials at the central bank. And then yesterday, being Thursday, these materials started moving to the various local governments. And as they were moving to the various local governments, we made sure that we tracked all the vehicles that are conveying these sensitive materials. That's the resources, the smart card readers, and the ballot papers. All the vehicles conveying them are tracked. and we are accompanied by armed security officers and escorted by representatives of the political parties. So we are ready for this particular election. We have conducted all the training that needs to be conducted, and we are ready for the election.
All right. In recent times, the NYSC Youth Corps members have always been used as ad hoc staff. But with the peculiarity of the situation foisted on us, of course, as a result of COVID-19, what will be the situation regarding deployment of ad hoc staff for this election?
Well, our procedure has always been that our first line of presiding officers must be young men and women doing their National Youth Service Corps. But, we are conducting this election under the shadow of a pandemic. Now, we have trained some of these presiding officers who are core members. We have some level of concentration of the core members in certain areas. For the areas that are very near, we are going to move them from one location to the other. But we have made arrangements to make sure that we don't have any form of shortfall. If we have any form of shortfall, the implication is that almost all the assistant presiding officers 1, 2, and 3 are going to be students of federal tertiary institutions. So for the Edo election, we don't expect a shortfall. But if there's any shortfall, we have arrangements on ground to make sure that it doesn't affect the conduct of the election.
We've also seen pockets of outbreak of tension here and there, also use of strong words by some political gladiators as regards this election. Are you confident that there wouldn't be escalation of violence? And what would you say has been done so far to guard against this on the election day and, of course, moving forward post-election?
Well, we have done a lot. At the level of the commission itself, we've had our interagency consultative committee on election security meeting with the heads of the various security agencies. 2 weeks ago, the chairman of the commission and national commissioners, we are also in Edo State, inspected our election material, our offices, had a meeting of the state interagency consultative committee on election security, and also met with the Oba of Benin, and we solicited his assistance and his cooperation in making sure that he spoke to the political gladiators to tone down their rhetoric. And he did that. And we have also had another round of meetings with them, the stakeholders meeting, and then they have signed a peace accord. So I believe that the tension has reduced to a certain extent. But we also expect them to conform to all our protocols and also create a level playing ground for every political party to thrive. And the security agencies have also assured us that they are going to act professionally and they are going to act ethically and they are going to make sure that all the voters and election officials and election materials are protected in this election.
Also, having to conduct an election within a sustained pandemic, just before speaking with you, we already had shared figures from the NCDC to, of course, share that the pandemic is still around. So it definitely should be a challenge for INEC. In the light of that, what are you most concerned about with regards to the election?
Well, other than the issue of the pandemic, we're also concerned about the issue of the weather. There are indications that we may likely have inclement weather tomorrow, being Saturday. So we're also taking that into consideration, not only the pandemic, but we have made all the arrangements necessary to make sure that people vote in safety. We have sensitized the voters in Edo State to the effect that any of them coming to the polling units to vote must have a face mask or a face covering. We have said that we are not concerned about medical face mask, but if you are coming to vote, you must come with a face covering. We have also liaised and in consultation and in collaboration with the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, we have procured sufficient infrared thermometers for all the polling units in Edo State. So everybody coming to the polling unit will also be tested. We have also provided hand sanitizers, face masks, and methylated spirit for all our presiding officers for use at the polling unit. And we have created a 2-tier queuing system at the polling unit So one of the assistant presiding officers will be moving voters from the outer queue into the inner queue in batches to observe physical distancing. So we appeal to the voters in Edo State to cooperate with our officials, to cooperate with the security agencies, so that all of us can conduct this election and they can also vote and vote in safety without endangering their health. So we are confident with our measures and all the processes we put in place for this election.
All right. Is every polling center also going to have hand washing basins or buckets or equipment? And how about the voters' cards and those equipment that your ad hoc staff are going to be using? Are they also going to be wiped every, now and then?
Well, the various communities where some of these polling units are located have volunteered to provide running water and soap for the polling units. So in places where these things are not available, we have also made arrangements to provide them. We have also provided methylated spirit and the cotton wool to all our presiding officers so that the moment a voter has touched the smart card reader, the presiding officer or assistant presiding officer will wipe the smart card reader with methylated spirit and cotton wool before the next voter will be allowed to use it. And then we have also trained them to disinfect the polling units and premises of the polling units intermittently to make sure that we observe all the health protocols put in place by all the health authorities in relation to the conduct of election under difficult circumstances.
All right, and a lot of people would believe that it's the Edo State elections, but it is also a representation of what elections would be in Nigeria. It's almost going to be called the Nigerian elections. The whole world is watching, the international community is watching. How ready is INEC to, of course, or how confident rather are you that this election will be delivered with international best practices all through?
Well, you know that with this pandemic, over 70 countries, including advanced developed democracies, postponed or called off the elections on account of this pandemic. But we couldn't do that because of the peculiarities of our own constitutional jurisprudence. So we are confident that we have taken sufficient measures, and we are also confident that we have followed through with our processes and procedures. If the political parties play by the rules of the game, if the political parties eschew violence, if the political parties do not do anything untoward to undermine this process, and also if the security agencies keep to their words and act professionally and ethically, I believe that the Edo election may likely turn out to be a model for the rest of the elections we are going to conduct in the country. And also it may also serve as a model for the rest of Africa and the international community. But we believe that at the level of the commission, we are ready and we have worked very, very hard to deliver this election within, under the shadow of a pandemic. So the day is almost here, and then we'll wait and see how things go.
All right, and do you have quick words that you want to share with the people of Edo State 24 hours before the election starts? What would be your, advice to them?
Well, my advice to the people of Edo State is that we have put in sufficient measures to guarantee the credibility of this particular election, and that they should file out a mass to exercise their democratic franchise. We have made sure that we have taken into consideration all the protocols and guidelines issued by all the health authorities so that they can vote without jeopardizing their health. They should cooperate fully with our officials and with the security agencies to observe physical distancing at the polling units. And if these things are done, we assure the people of Edo State that we are committed to delivering an election that all of them will be proud of.
All right. Nicely put. Thank you so much, Festus Okoye, for speaking with us. And of course, I hope that we can speak again right after the elections in a few days' time.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
In news reports across Africa, the High Commissioner of Tanzania in Nigeria, Dr. Benson Alfred Bana, on Thursday called for a stronger trade cooperation and diplomatic relations between Nigeria and Tanzania. Bana, who is also head of mission of Tanzania to Nigeria, made the call while briefing newsmen in Abuja. He said the relations between the two countries were built on mutual grounds, adding that more needed to be done to attract foreign direct investment from Nigeria to his country. According to him, there is a need to promote intra-African trade under the auspices of the African Free Trade Movement to bring about improved cultural relations and attract foreign direct investment. And also in Africa, Paul Rusesabagina, depicted as a hero in a Hollywood movie about Rwanda's 1994 genocide and now on trial for terrorism, was denied bail on Thursday, though he had promised not to escape. Rusesabagina applied for bail after being charged earlier in the week with terrorism, forming or joining an irregular armed group, and complicity in murder. Some in Rwanda, including President Kagame, have accused him of exaggerating his heroism, which he denies. Also in the news, a manhunt is on the way in Uganda after 200 inmates overpowered their guards and escaped with weapons in a jailbreak that has left 4 people dead. Prison spokesman Frank Bain said an inmate and a soldier were killed in the shootout as roughly 200 escapees fled towards Mount Moroto. 2 other inmates were killed Thursday as armed search parties and helicopters chased the escapees. Uganda's prison commissioner Johnson Byabashaja said search teams and helicopters were scouring the rugged terrain. And on the foreign scene, U.S. President Donald Trump on Thursday signed an executive order to promote patriotic education and assailed what he called the left-wing ideology in schools, saying it makes students ashamed of their own history. Speaking at the National Archives, Trump said the executive order is called the 1776 Commission and would promote patriotic education.
Today, I'm also pleased to announce that I will soon sign an executive order establishing a national commission to promote patriotic education. It will be called the 1776 Commission. We embrace the vision of Martin Luther King, where children are not judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. The left is attempting to destroy that beautiful vision and divide Americans by race in the service of political power. By viewing every issue through the lens of race, they want to impose a new segregation, and we must not allow that to happen. Critical race theory, the 1619 Project, and the crusade against American history is toxic propaganda, ideological poison that, if not removed, will dissolve the civic bonds that tie us together, will destroy our country. That is why I recently banned trainings in this prejudiced ideology from the federal government and banned it in the strongest manner possible.
And also in the U.S., Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden on Thursday bluntly contradicted President Donald Trump's suggestion that a coronavirus vaccine may be only weeks away, warning Americans that they cannot trust the president's word.
He doesn't want to see anything happen. It's all about his reelection. It should be about the American people, and they're in trouble. And if we don't do it, and by the way, his own CDC director contradicted him recently. He said, if in fact you just wore this mask, nothing else but this mask, you would save between now and January another 100,000 lives. And so we have to be honest with the American people. They're tough. They know, as Franklin Roosevelt said, Things get worse and worse before they get better and better, but you got to level with the American people, shoot from the shoulder. There's never been a time they've not been able to step up. This president should step down. All the way back, and I was on one of your shows, all the way back in March, I was calling for the need for us to have masks, have the president stand and tell us what's going on. But he knew it. He knew it and did nothing. It's close to criminal. So the idea that there's going to be a vaccine and everything's going to be fine tomorrow is just not rational, not reasonable. Absolutely. And the idea you're not making a minimum of $15 an hour is just wrong. Wrong. No one should have to work 2 jobs to be able to get out of poverty. You're busting your neck, and what you're doing is you're saving people's lives. Exactly. You're helping them, and you're risking your own.
Away from the U.S. now, Bolivia's conservative interim president, Janine Áñez, pulled out of next month's general election on Thursday, a move that should strengthen all the candidates running against the front-running Socialist Party of ex-leader Evo Morales. Áñez said in a video message she sought to unify those opposing the candidate for the party of Morales, who resigned last year after an election sparked widespread protest. Áñez, a former senator, took office in the power vacuum that followed Morales' departure. The October 18th vote is the delayed rerun of the 2019 ballot. Áñez's candidacy had sparked controversy after she initially ruled herself out and pledged to guide the country to transparent new elections. And areas of northeast England will be subject to further COVID-19 lockdown restrictions. British Health Secretary Matt Hancock told Parliament on Thursday as coronavirus cases surge across the UK. People will no longer be able to mix with other households, and pubs will have to close early, according to measures that will be in place from midnight. Residents across England have been struggling to access the COVID-19 testing system after a rise in cases and demand for tests. Hancock said the huge spike in demand for coronavirus testing from people who do not have symptoms was creating challenges in the system.
From tomorrow, in Northumberland, North Tyneside, South Tyneside, Newcastle upon Tyne, Gateshead, Sunderland and County Durham, residents should not socialise with other people outside their own households or support bubble. Hospitality for food and drink will be restricted to table service only, and late-night restrictions of operating hours will be introduced, so leisure and entertainment venues must close between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. Mr. Speaker, I know, the whole House knows, that these decisions have a real impact on families, on businesses, and on local communities. And I can tell everyone affected that we do not take these decisions lightly. We agree with the local councils that we must follow the data and act. And the data says that we must act now.
And now in sports, U.S. Open champion Naomi Osaka has withdrawn from the upcoming French Open due to a hamstring injury, she said on Thursday. The 22-year-old Japanese had her left hamstring wrapped in tape when she battled back to defeat Victoria Azarenka at the U.S. Open final at Flushing Meadows last week en route to her 3rd Grand Slam title. My hamstring is still sore, so I wouldn't have time to prepare for the clay. These 2 tournaments came too close to each other for me this time. I wish the organizers and players all the best, she said. Nigeria's Super Eagles have moved up by 2 spots in FIFA's ranking for September to place 29th after more than 6 months of disruption due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In the ranking placed on the World Football Governance Body's website on Thursday, Nigeria garnered 1,493 points during the period under review without playing any matches. The movement also placed Nigeria as the 3rd in Africa, behind Senegal and Tunisia, who garnered 1,555 and 1,506 points, respectively. And Chelsea's new recruit, Kai Havertz, said he will not put pressure on himself to justify his price tag following his big money move from German side Bayern Leverkusen earlier this month. Havertz, 21, was signed by Chelsea for a reported fee of £71 million, about $91.36 million, a club record fee for an outfield player.
Price tag. But I think in football that is today it's normal to pay these prices. I think it's for me, I will not do a lot of pressure on myself because I think I'm doing not the best, not the worst thing in the past. That's because the price tag is or was that high. So I'm just trying to focus on my football and try to play my best football here at Chelsea and try to do not that pressure on myself because I'm just playing football and I love to play football and that's why I'm here.
And that's all we have for you in sports this morning. Stay with us. Still on The Breakfast is Off the Press. It's our quick review of all the news stories making the headlines. Stay with us.
Quality wire, and quality cables. Quality cables. For quality wire, quality cables. Coleman will light up your life, brother, sister. Original quality wire, with the can't pay. Cable for any type of project. Light up your life, light up your house. Coleman won't light up your life. Coleman, who be the master for cable? Coleman, who be the master for wire? Coleman, original quality cable. When you feature for any kind of project. Coleman, original quality. Durable, trustable.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the Barbing, I pay my rent. From the Barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
Edo is a very complex one. I am not a fan of Obaseki. I am not a fan of Oshiomhole.
APC is the ruling party in Nigeria.
Let me warn the APC, however, that our patience is not elastic.
Business of electoral franchise is a business of winning the souls and minds of the Edo people. We say capital rejectamenta.
When you didn't let me resolve the issue between you and your friend, comrade, if we had done it that time, everything would have been smoother than this.
When you do good or you do bad, you will forget. Those who are beneficiaries of victims of your action, they don't forget.
I'm so elated that there was no incident of violence in the 182 wards. God took control.
I am assuring you, as the chief security officer of Edo, that there will be no violence in Edo for this election.
Join us on Plus TV Africa this Saturday for live updates on the Edo 2020 elections.
And welcome back to The Breakfast. It's time for Off the Press. It's a period where we have a quick review of major stories making the headlines across the country. And this Friday morning, we're going to be speaking with Mrs. Aisha Yusufu. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'm looking forward to a really interesting review this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure to be here.
We're going to be kicking off with the Punch newspapers, but before we start, I want you to quickly share in like 30 seconds. I've been seeing you've been calling out a lot of, I would say, hypocrisy on your Twitter page. What is that all about?
Well, for me, the hypocrisy is especially from citizens who once upon a time they called that the incompetence of government, and now because the person they like is in government or the government they are interested in is in position, they don't call it out again. And also of the people who did the same thing, who supported government last administration, but this administration they are now against government, out of the same thing, and I've refused to understand that what happened before is the same thing as what is happening now, and it's all failure. That failure is failure, irrespective of who is in our position. Now, for me, it's that bias, administrative bias that I call it. That's what I constantly put in their faces, and I go back to their old pits and I bring them out.
All right, let's kick off with the Punch newspapers this morning so we can quickly share with you. Of course, I take as many of them as possible. The federal government orders schools to conduct weekly COVID-19 assessment. A government to suspend passports of errand travelers for 6 months, and is also asking students for, the PTF says asking students for test fees is an unnecessary burden on parents. Also on the Punch, Babalakin Faults panel resigns as Unilag Pro-Chancellor. Hike electricity consumers to pay 417.09 billion naira in 4 months. Also, the federal government orders all banks and other account holders to re-register. The Minister of Transportation says the Port Harcourt-Maiduguri rail line construction begins soon. That's also on the Punch newspapers this morning. It also says the APC plotting to buy votes with credit scheme, alleges the PDP. And President Buhari says, I am committed to a free and fair election in Edo State. A few others. Soldiers and police in show of force as gridlock grounds Benin City. It also says here 13 killed in Ilorin Jeba Mokwa highway crash, I beg your pardon. And also caution your supporters, Charitable tells Jegede after crash. PDP berates Fire-Me on Ekiti, rising killings and kidnappings. And also Fani Kayode and his wife separate. Ex-minister demands 2 billion naira from blogger. All right. Over to you, Ms. Yusufu.
Okay, thank you so much. Quite a lot of interesting headlines here. I'm going to start with the big one. The FG orders schools to conduct a weekly COVID-19 assessment, and I'm wondering who is going to pay for that bill. It's not as cheap to do that, and if you expect schools to continue conducting weekly COVID-19 assessment, at the end of the day, a lot of schools, their school fees is not up to that even amount with what you get in a term. So it comes to the cost. Who is going to do that? Government to suspend passports of errand travelers for 6 months. I hope they're able to keep this up, and it's very important that for anyone that is coming back to the country or returning or traveling, they need to abide by the rules and regulation. And if that's not done, we must have bad behavior being punished, not like we normally have in Nigeria, where nothing is done about it. We look at Babalaki Fort's panel, resigns as Unilag Chancellor. It's quite interesting what is happening in Unilag, and I hope the academic community is going to look into this very well. One of the biggest problem we have in Nigeria is the fact that student unionism has been killed by the same people who were once as student unionists, who got into a position of power and decided that they didn't want any opposition, they didn't want being asked, any demands being made on them, and they did everything they could to kill the student unionism. Today we have docile citizens who have not been brought up to understand what it is to make demands, and they're still making demands on government as being attacked on government or dislike for whoever is in position, not realizing that it's our civic responsibility. Like I said, when the vice chancellor was sacked, students would have been the one to come out to say no, but then the students that would have been there to fight for his right have all their voices have been rendered voiceless, and that's really quite sad. On the issue of Edo election, of course, APC plotting to buy votes with credit schemes alleges PDP. Well, these are the same people, same old people. They know what they do. They know how they do all of these things to ensure the people they buy the votes of the people, either legally or illegally, and by bringing out schemes and everything. And it's quite interesting there seeing Buhari saying he's committed to free, fair election in Edo State, and that's not a true picture. Buhari is not committed to any free fair election. If he was committed to free and fair election in Nigeria, by now you will see the electoral reform will be topmost on his agenda. If that's the only thing he does for Nigeria, we'll be able to say, oh, on this one thing, the president has tried, but he hasn't done that. And what we've seen over the time is this mayhem, this killing, and that's what is going to happen as long as this electoral reform it's not done, it's not signed into law. The politicians know that they can kill, they can do everything, they can stop the ballot paper, and they get to Supreme Court, they're going to be given this their mandate. They will do anything. We're going to.
That is coming from Kaduna State. Babalakin accused